All right, we should be live. Hold on a minute. I like it. Okay, here we are. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Um, I wonder why I'm not on the screen though.
Hmm.
Um, okay, it took me to YouTube. I wonder why I'm not on the screen. Let me
Yeah.
go back.
Now you are.
Okay, yeah, now I am. But then I went to YouTube and then it brought me back to Zoom. Uh,
Okay, when
I
you
don't know.
were in YouTube, I couldn't see your picture.
No, I couldn't see my picture either. Like, what's that? Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's confusing. Okay, there I am. Yeah, it's a lag. All right, I'm just gonna go between us on the
Yes.
Zoom and watch here. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, so I want to say hello to everybody who may be watching or watching later. And yes, it's Sarah here, and I have a guest with me who we're gonna have a conversation about this, right? So this is called Cosmic Algorithm. It's a book I wrote. That strip is because it's the not for resale copy. You know, you get a. I just published it, so I got this to make sure that it looks good and yeah, looks good. And anyway, so the cosmic algorithm is basically about how life works. I'm laughing because it sounds really simple. I mean, I simplified it, but it's kind of like how how reality works and how we can, once you understand it, then you can work within it and then things can happen with you as opposed to you. If that makes sense. Or let's say this is a better way of saying it is that life starts to organize around you instead of you feeling that you have to organize life constantly, right? So it's a different way of being. It certainly is a different way for me, and I've been doing this for about 6 months, 7 months, even I think maybe longer. And so there's basic principles in there. And my guest read the first draft of the book and then also came and did an exercise with my horses that really support the principles in the book. And it's a very simple 10-minute exercise that I'm trialing right now. So my guest was really kind to come and do that. So she has she has a lot of experience as far as everything in the book and also did the horse exercise. So that's why I asked Fabiana to come and have a little conversation about it. I'm just going to say some really basic concepts in the book, which is we look at sovereignty. So, sovereignty meaning you are acting sovereign, meaning that you're not outsourcing or deferring your authority to outside sources, which could be, like channeling, religion, what else? You know, any kind of authority that you defer to, right? So I'm not saying that you break all the rules and stuff like that. I'm just saying when you give yourself over to it, right? When it has authority over you. And then the other main concept is that if you think of a midpoint in your body, like from the top of your head to your perineum, your crutch or whatever, like if you think of a mid vertical line that I call the axis, axis, that's where you want to inhabit. That's where you want to be. So when I say to you, like, where are you right now? Like, where is your attention? Where's your awareness? Right? You could say, well, it's in my mind, and my mind is in my brain, and my brain is in my head, right? So that's what most people think or are led to believe. I actually Googled, where's the mind? And it basically says it's in your brain, but it's not. Anyone who's meditated or had any kind of experiences where you're not confined to your physical body knows that your awareness is not your brain. It's not in your brain, or it's not confined to that space. But in the cosmic algorithm, the axis runs vertical, like along the spine, and extends to the top, just to the top of the head, not on the outside, and down to the bottom of the torso. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to live. That's home. Let's say that's home base, right? And so for a lot of people, that concept is hard to grasp, right? Because we've never been told that. Like I was never told that you need to be there. I am experienced in the healing arts. I have a background in polarity therapy and cranial sacral unwinding. And we were always taught, set your fulcrum, which is basically that, like come into your center when you're doing the session. But then afterwards, there was no instruction of like, okay, stay there. It was just like, do that attunement when you're working on someone. But what I'm saying in the book is stay there. That's where you want to live. Because once you live there, you are sovereign. Nothing else can come in. It's like if you're going to leave your house and you're going to go to the neighbors and gossip or whatever, and you spend all your time outside your house, eventually something's going to get in your house, like even if it's rodents or whatever, I don't know, squatters. And because you're not there, right? So it's the same, but it could be like external influences. It could be other people in you. It could be, I don't know, ideologies, so many things, right? So it's pretty simple. And then the other thing I just want to say briefly is that I talk about the field as the place which reflects our experience back, right? So the signal is what we emit, like that's what's coming out of us, and then it meets the field, and then we have an experience, whatever that is. Constantly we're having experiences, obviously, and then it comes back, and it's comes back to the axis. It gets digested through the axis, okay, which is very similar to cranial sacral, if you know that work. And but what happens is that a lot of times a signal gets hijacked, or it can be uh, locked into something, a memory, a trauma, an obsessive thought about something. But when you bring it back to the axis, that's where you digest the experience, okay? And then you've got a continual flow, right? Movement. It's a cycle. And obviously, there's multiple signals happening. It's not just one signal going out, it's multiple happening all the time. Like you want this flow. So when you have the orientation, which is in the center, you can digest experiences better, and also not be hijacked or influenced or manipulated, right, by like being brainwashed or manipulated through sales or whatever, right? Anyway, so I want to go to Fabiana and just, do you have anything to say about anything I just said?
Well, what it was coming to me was, as I was listening to you, like the first experience that I had after doing the exercise with you. The strongest one for me was that I had a stronger. It was much better for me to put a boundary to I was much more aware of, okay, this is too much, I need to put a boundary here, and it was clear, and it wasn't offensive. I didn't offend anybody. I didn't push anybody away. I don't know, it was, as you said, like walking in a center, and the words would come very clear to me as of what I needed to say, and it came, and every word was in a place that the other person would listen. It was an order. So um yeah, and then the other thing that happens is, like, I started to be more aware, mostly now all the time, because I've been practicing a little bit um, the technique what you taught me, and it's when I leave, when I'm not present, I'm much more aware. And not always, it's not easy to bring myself back. I'm still
Right.
working on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So that was a huge thing about it is boundaries because when if you have a tendency to merge, okay, so I was merging my entire life up until well, probably 5 months ago or something when I realized what I was doing. Um, because if you're merging, it means that you're outside of yourself and you're merging into whatever it is, right? So to me, I do family constellation work, and we're working with a field in constellation work. It's called the knowing field. It's different than the field I'm talking about. But we go into roles. So that means you go into a role and you can feel everything about the role that you're in. So if it's a dead person, you can have all this information, right? Which is pertinent to the actual constellation. It's if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of strange, but that's kind of what happens, right? So what I realized what I was doing was I was merging with the role, right? But then I realized like I can be in my axis, I can be in my midpoint and not merge, right? So the way that, and I wanted to tell you this, Fabiano, because you mentioned about really wanting to merge with the birds and the ocean and that
Yeah,
you
like
really,
sometimes I want to go there. I don't want to bring
yeah,
myself back, I want to stay
yeah.
there.
Okay, so first of all, I totally get it. And then you have a natural tendency to do that. I also have a natural tendency to do that. I mean, I've done it all my life, right? But there's a cost, okay? There's an energetic cost, um, because because you're not in home base, right? When you're outside, there's a you're you're using energy, right? Like it's you're dispersed. Let's say this: you're dispersed, you're diffused. You don't have a boundary. You don't have a container, right?
Yeah.
Um, so what I want to say is that you can absolutely have the experience. Like I can be in a role, right? But not leave myself. So, and I remember you said to me on the phone, well, how do I do that? How can I have the experience of
Yes.
being one with the ocean and one with the bird, um, without leaving, right? And
Yes.
it's so simple. It's basically you allow it to come to you. So instead of you feeling you've got to be inside the bird's head or be inside the ocean to experience it, No, you just you let it come to you where you're at. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it works through the relational field. So it's just a different kind of trajectory. It's like instead of me feeling like I've got to go to it, no, it can come to me, right? And it's information. It's like you still have the same experience, and it's actually going to be better. It's going to be cleaner. It's going to be cleaner because you're not going to lose anything. So when I say there's a cost of losing yourself.
Mm.
Do you understand that?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. Yeah, great.
But it happened to me when I was doing when I was doing the exercise with the horses. Remember that
Yeah,
like I felt like I was a tree and suddenly I disappeared into all the story with the trees. And then I felt
yeah,
I was another horse. And
yeah.
again, I disappeared into being a horse, which I like though.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So you can still have that same experience, but it's just they come to you. It comes to you. You know that space doesn't exist, right? I mean, I'm
Yes.
not going to get into that whole thing, but it's an
Yeah.
illusion, right?
Yeah.
So whether you go to it or it comes to you, it's totally possible, right? And what so I was able to do the work like the constellation work because I work a lot one to one, and also there's a tendency for me to you know merge with who I'm working with, right? Where like I can feel everything from them. I feel everything, you know, and then I'm working on stabilizing that, right? So I'm stabilizing it outside of myself. I'm working. So the point is, I'm working way too hard, like way too hard, right? And there's a cost. It's exhausting. It's tiring, right?
But how do
But
you do to make that thing come to you? Like
it
you,
just happens. Okay,
it
so
happens
when
because you are inside the the
axis,
axis.
yeah, so like when you, so what I did, right? So instead, so the big thing is knowing when you leave, right? We talked about that, and you were able to know where you left and from the place of where you left, right? So when you get good at, first of all, knowing where you are, right? So most people don't know where they are. They think they know where they are, but they're actually not where they think they are because there's not really a language around it, right? Um, so so basically for me, because I'm trained in somatic work and blah blah blah, like polarity therapy, cranial, I've done constellation work the majority of the time. I've been doing that since 2008, and I do it with horses. But I'm very sensitive, like sensitive to other people's energies and what's going on around me. And it can be really overwhelming, right? But
Yeah.
it also can be an advantage if you do the kind of work that I do, the kind of work that you do. It gives you an advantage, right? Because you have that ability, you have the ability to merge, and so then you can feel everything. But like I
Yes.
said, there's the cost to it. And the tendency is to leave from a exit point in the body, and then go to whatever you're merging with, right? So the first thing is to understand where you leave, and then notice when you leave. That's why the exercise with the horses is so good because they can tell when you're in your axis and when you're not in your axis. And you just bring yourself back. You just say, okay, like if you want to say something, come back, come home. And just, I told you that saying where a little
Anchor
reset,
down.
which is basically exhale and no, inhale, anchor down. So you say anchor down as you inhale, and exhale, steady rise, right? So it's like the It's like a boat, ship, the mast on on a ship. Think vertical, right? It's all vertical. And that helps you. And also in the book, I have other exercises where you can run an earth energy up and down, and you can run a water one and a fire one. It's based on where you're at. But once you kind of train yourself, like then you start inhabiting yourself more, and then you realize your experiences are different. Like you experienced yourself having boundaries. Okay.
I did,
That
yeah.
Yeah, and so that is huge because when you don't have boundaries, you're just leaking everywhere. You're leaking. It's like, so call it a porous signal. It's a porous signal. Not only are you leaking, but other things can come in, right? Other things can enter people's ideas or thoughts, like override yours, or ideologies, or like fear. Like you see something online and you go, ah, like you immediately get fearful because you're not in yourself. When you're in yourself, it precedes action. Like you respond instead of react. Okay. It's
Yeah,
subtle,
that's
but it's
amazing.
yeah, it's subtle, but it's huge. And especially when you're someone like me, like you, who has existed their entire life merging, right? Um,
Yeah, but I didn't, it wasn't so subtle for me. I really felt the difference. And I told you after I did the exercise, the first thing that I felt was balance. As soon as I entered the field with the horses, the first thing that I felt was physical balance in my body and an adjustment in my spine. That was crazy. Because my spine got adjusted as if it was a chiropractor adjustment. And then I enter into balance. So it's hard to do it for me without the horses because I think the horses help to create that balance. So every time I would wanted to come back, what I say come back, I knew where to come back. I came back to the balance. I
yeah,
wasn't using the breathing, I wasn't using any the senses, anything. For me it was like entering the balance, the place of complete equilibrium as a column or something, I think the golden thread, like you call it, as it was like entering inside a column that was the space I needed to be. But I think that the horses help with that because here is so hard for me. But I remember the experience of having complete physical balance and then therefore mental after that. But the first thing was physical balance, almost
yeah, I
like a
remember.
ninja
Yeah,
or like a martial arts. I was physically in perfect balance.
yeah, that's great. So yeah, that's great. Um, and just for everyone, that exercise is 10 minutes. That's it. It's a 10-minute exercise, and the exercise is to notice, is to stay in your center and your axis and notice without doing anything, without petting the horses, or like you find a place and you just stand there for 10 minutes, and then what do you notice? And it's just noticing without injecting meaning onto anything, right? That's also what it involves. And it sounds easy, but it's not. It's
No,
not.
it wasn't easy to inject the meaning of the things, and to say, oh, the horse is not looking at me, or now the horse is looking at me, or now the dog is coming. And yeah, no, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And
Like,
the
so
10 minutes, it looked like it was 10 hours.
exactly.
It was
Exactly.
very slow.
Yeah, so yeah, time slows down when you begin to be coherent, because that's what happens, right? You feel your energy is coherent. Okay, when you're in your center and you're not projecting anything, you're not um going into future scenarios or past scenarios, right? So I know that you have a history, and you talked to me. You have a strong history of meditation. So do
Yeah.
I. And then, but you also mentioned mindfulness, right? That you practice mindfulness. So I wanted to tell you the difference with this, right? Cosmic algorithm to mindfulness. And with mindfulness is paying attention and being aware, right? Aware of everything. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So what this is orientation. It's being inside yourself and also being aware, right? But just having a location. Because in mindfulness, they don't really give you a location, right? Do they?
No, you are very much in your senses. The location will be your senses to, what
Yeah,
I
exactly.
hear, what I say. But that in my case, I don't know in other cases, but in my case, that is what it makes me merge with everything because I'm in my
Exactly.
senses. So if I smell jasmine, I have become the jasmine scent.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so what it's like being diffused, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like self erasure, okay? Because you're no longer in yourself. You're in the jasmine. You're in the
Yes.
experience, right? Which feels good. It feels expansive and good, but it's at it's at a cost. It's so
Yeah, you're not in yourself, you are in the experience of whatever you are experiencing.
yeah,
That I don't know where is happening. One question that I always ask myself is where in the body is experience happening? You know, where is experience? But the work that you do, it solves that question. It's no longer a problem because I no longer have to. I have a place to go. It's like I
exactly.
have a
Yeah,
home. I have a place to go, and
exactly.
that is very like it gives me like security somehow. Almost like it's if you're a homeless and then suddenly you have a house and then you're not homeless anymore.
Exactly.
It's not that you leave your space and somebody's gonna, take your clothing or take your food or whatever. You have a house that you can close the door or open the door or whatever you wanna do, but you are there in your couch. It's safe. It's a place of safety. That's for me was also another thing that it was very important to feel because that I grew up in under a military dictatorship. So for me that's how I was born. So for me the like maybe I think everybody that is born in a war, the planet becomes unsafe. So and we did constellations with this, but so for me that was another very important thing that I felt safe. And it's not that I mean, nothing really changed, but it changed the place that I was located in the body. I mean, it changed that I was finally in the body.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
I
you're
think
right.
for people
Yeah.
with trauma, this may work out very well,
Yeah, well, that's
because
the origin of merging is a traumatic event that makes you leave and want to control and scan and detect. Like it's always like hyper vigilant, you know, as well. Like it's a coping strategy to, um,
yeah.
to apprehend, I mean, you could look at that psychically, right? Like psychically go so you can figure things out, or you know what's happening, or you can stabilize it so nothing terrible happens, you know. But it takes a lot of energy and it's exhausting.
Yeah,
And
also from a like let's say maybe more the psychology point of view, you always go back to the place where the trauma happened because you're analyzing it or trying to understand or for whatever or for fear or for whatever. But even, even if though that already happened, you are like you are trapped in that time and space where that happens. like
Right. Yeah.
maybe victims of rape or like horrible things like that,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
abuse
So
mostly.
that's like, so that's about closing the loop. That's like, so talk about that, like when the signal's stuck somewhere, right? Like in a trauma, then you can, close, that's an open loop. It keeps repeating. It's like in family constellations, right? Where the same theme keeps happening over and over again, with different people or different situations, but it's the same theme, and it originates from a trauma, either from you or something ancestral, right? That you've taken on.
Mm.
But so that's considered an open loop, and then you do something to close the loop. But the thing that's a little off the topic of the merging, but the thing with that is, because I did want to talk about that, is that it's us that has to digest the experience. Like when you outsource to something, like let's say ayahuasca, right? So I'm going to do ayahuasca to heal myself, right? It's it blasts you open, right? So you might get some insights and things like that. But does it really heal you? I don't think so, because I've seen lots of people do it, and I haven't really seen big changes. I've seen initial changes, and I call that a surplus signal, where a lot of energy gets released, right? But then it's not integrated. There's nowhere for it to go, so it goes outwards, and then the field responds to that. So you've you might feel that you know your purpose in life, and you're going to open a healing center, and then it all collapses. It doesn't go well, right? Because it's from a surplus energy. But the the thing is that when that we have to digest it ourselves. And the other thing is, like, you don't even have to know the trauma. I talk about it in the book. There's certain exercises that you can do, somatic exercises, that you don't even have to know what the trauma is, right? To complete that cycle, that loop. But starting in your axis is a really fundamental place that you work with, right? So like I said, I realized it took me about 5 months to really inhabit myself and to notice when I left. And one so slowly I would do things like I'm pretty obsessive sometimes. I'm very mental, and I would something would disturb me. I see something and I couldn't stop thinking about it, right? And it would just capture my thoughts. And so if I go like, okay, just come back here, because I'd realize I'm not in myself. I'm in that thought. I'm in that obsessive, weird thing that is just going round and round. So I say, anchor down, steady rise, right? And I just see my own axis. Like, I not only see it, but I get into it. So I see it, and then I come into it. And then that drops it, and then after about an hour, I'm no longer obsessively thinking about it, and it's just like diffused. It's gone. It doesn't have power over me, right? So that's one of the ways that I noticed it. And also another thing that I noticed is that I can't tolerate things that I used to tolerate things. I'm talking about in other people, that now I can't. And it's not like a severance of a relationship and a big fight or an argument or something like that. It's just kind of fades away, right? Because I've changed. It changed me. And I also noticed, I kind of examine myself. I examine the field and the signal that's going out, and the field is showing me experiences, and I examine that. And then from occupying myself in the axis, it and being sovereign, it it now is a place where you know exactly what's going on. You can no longer be projected on, and you can no longer be manipulated. Do you see what I mean? It gets really clean. It's clean in the sense of like things become really clear about what's going on here and what's my part in this. What am I doing? Why do I feel like this? You know? And oh, because I left myself and I'm stabilizing them. Do you see what I mean? It's I don't know if I'm explaining that well. Do you
Yeah, well,
follow me?
I understand it. Well, one question that is coming to me while you are explaining that is like, suppose if I didn't know you,
Yeah.
because of course I can go and take classes with you and you can help me with the book. But let's say I didn't know you and I buy the book and I
Hmm.
start doing this on my own without a teacher. How does it work? Like I live
Yeah.
in France, I buy your book. How do I
Okay.
follow the book without your guidance? Like just with the guidance of the book?
Okay. You
Or we
might have
can
to
call
read
you.
it. You might have to read it several times, and it's so it's not really like a healing thing, right? So I have done healing work most of my career. Like it's not but this is different. It's it's about um
Yeah, but because the exercises are very specific.
yeah, the exercise, because the exercises are all about getting you in here.
Yeah, so they
Right.
are very specific. So without a teacher, like I can, with the book, I can follow the exercise.
Yeah, because they're
And,
very simple. Yeah,
okay.
they're very simple exercises. And it's basically like once you so once you the first chapter is sovereignty, right? Because without sovereignty, everything downstream from that is not going to hold. Okay, so sovereignty first. So what does that mean? So you start realizing like where you're outsourcing. So for instance, I say in the book, like I used to pray to angels. I don't anymore. I don't. I stopped. I stopped even before I started doing the cosmic algorithm thing. But I really stopped, because I would lose my dog or my cat, and I'd pray to angels like, just please bring the cat back, like. And a lot of times the cat would come back, right? And so it was kind of like, oh, can I give that up? Like, am I? But what I was doing was outsourcing, right? And also, I don't know who they are. I don't know where the angels come from. I don't know what that is, right? I don't. And I've been told what it is, but is it really? I don't know. Okay. So I stopped, and there was a moment where I did lose the cat, or the cat was missing, and I just, instead of getting panicky, I went in my axis. I said, okay, I'm out of myself because I'm thinking about something terrible that hasn't happened, that something happened to my cat, right? But I don't know that because it all I know is that my cat's not around. So I start methodically looking for my cat, like without panicking. And I just think, okay, I'm gonna look in there. Sometimes she gets inside structures, and she's gets inside, and then I shut the door and I shut her in there. Anyway, I just was calm, and that was the thing, like not escalating, not projecting, not like in the sympathetic nervous system, where you escalate right fast. Um, and then I was really conscious of coming back in, and then you know what? She just showed up. I saw she just walked up like like it was nothing. Do you see what I mean? And I haven't had that experience since. Like, I haven't had the situation where I'm freaking out because I can't find the cat. I haven't had that. I haven't had the urge to pray, right? And I know this is going to upset quite a few people, right? And it's maybe it's not for everyone, right? And I'm not saying don't pray, but I'm just saying when it's like when you're overriding yourself, right? When you're outsourcing to something else to save you, right? To save you or save the situation. Okay. This is about being coherent. This is about life organizing around you, right? So that you're not going to have those kind of experiences after a while, in the sense, and if something is like that, you're going to handle it in a way that is is much more clear-headed, like uh, not panicking so much, like handling stressful situations much better. Let's say that. Do you follow me?
Yeah, well, that happened to me, not in the case of the cat or anything like that, but something happened with my dog. That and this is after doing the work with you, and I remember so the dog was had he had a long leash, but I let him go. And then he suddenly saw two dogs with a woman, and the woman started to yell, like going completely insane. Pick up, my dogs will destroy him. And she was really, really, really stressed out. And I got stressed out for a second, like calling my dog. And then I remember the work, and I'm like, no, come back. I brought myself back. And I cannot run right now because I have a sprain. And so I would just like, I yelled to my dog, I just like, stop. And he stopped. And the woman, poor woman, both of her dogs throw her on the floor, and they were like, you know, and I'm like, my dog, stop, just calm down, and then I go and I picked up the dog. My dog was really, really stressed out because this woman was yelling like crazy. Her dogs were barking. It was a big mess. And then I just sat with him on the grass for a while. Uh, so I caught myself in the moment of panicking, or what am I, she has two pit bulls, they're gonna kill my dog, they're gonna kill her, everything, and I just brought myself back, and then I just say, stop, to the dog with, I don't, he never obeys me. So I think that that came from a place of complete balance because he caught it. And dogs respond to energy.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so he stopped. He's a
That's
puppy. He's
amazing.
7 months old. 7 months old, giant puppy, 56 pounds. He's not gonna stop. He never stopped. But in that moment, he just stopped.
That was great. And see the way that you handle it, like you knew that you couldn't like rush over and stuff like that, but you had this sense of like, okay, I'm going to connect to the dog and I'm going to command the dog, right?
I brought myself back because I was panicking with the woman,
Exactly. Yeah.
I entered the panic, but then I remember, no, come back, and
Yeah.
so I think
It-
that the more I practice this job that you told me, the more it becomes more natural because in that moment I
Exactly.
remember to do this.
Yes, exactly. See, and also you didn't get overridden by her crazy frenetic energy, right?
No, she was
And
crazy.
yeah, you didn't get hijacked by that. Whereas if you were outside yourself, you could have easily gotten hijacked by that, right? And then that could have escalated, and then it could have caused a dogfight, right? Like that's how stuff like that happens, right?
Yeah.
It's and you're gonna come into, you're in the city. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like the kinds of things I deal with, like I said, is like my cat's missing, or but I like things like if things break down, I used to freak out because I pretty much do everything myself. And I noticed that I could problem solve a lot better. And part of that was because I didn't like freak out. Like I just was come back here and it's again, it's like responding instead of reacting. Okay, so you're not reacting how I'm not reacting how I used to, which I would just go into an ultimate like, oh my God, what am I going to do? This the generator's not working, and the horse is not going to have any water, and it's oh, what am I? And I'm going to have to do this, and like one thing after another, that it's going to be a terrible outcome. Okay.
Maybe it's like because you still reacting, but it's almost because you act to the situation, but it's almost like inspired action. It's
Well,
almost like that you know what to do.
it's responding. It's different, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
I have to take
Not
action,
that you
but
don't do anything. Oh, I am in my
yeah,
axis now. It's not that you don't
yeah,
do
yeah. No,
anything.
you absolutely deal with it, right? Like I have to deal with it, but I deal with it from a place of responding instead of reacting. It's different. It's really different. And
Yeah,
when you're in your parasympathetic nervous system, you make much better decisions. You know, you make way more when you're in your sympathetic, which is your panic place, you know, it's impulsive. You make decisions based on the lion's going to eat me, right? But in reality, it's not a lion, it's just a generator and what it was the switch was off, the wrong switch was on, which you know, I figured out after I took the whole wires apart and everything like that. But and then I was just like, oh, I wasn't like pissed off at myself for overlooking that. I was just like, oh, isn't that interesting? The switch flipped. How did that happen? But I was actually really glad that it was a simple thing that was why it wasn't working. So my whole response was very different. And so that's why I say like I've changed. I've changed in that way. And the other thing that has really been dramatic for me is time. Like, I feel like we've been in January for ages. Like, when you said you went in with the horses and it felt like forever, but it's really
yeah.
10 minutes. It's like that. Like when you're in here and when you're regulated, when you're in your parasympathetic, right? That nervous system that is regulated, you're regulated, time slows down. Your perception of time, time is how we experience it, right? Because I always used to experience it as like there was never enough time. I always think like there's never enough daylight in the day. I've got all these things I need to do, and then I've got to do this and I've got to do that. All this sense of urgency I just lived like that until like when I started coming in my axis and my nervous system calmed down, and then I'm mostly in my parasympathetic. The urgency left, time slowed down, and now I'm like, God, we're still in January. It feels like 3 months went by. You know, I keep thinking, are we still in January? I mean, I know we're at the end, but it feels like a long time to me. And it's actually good, and I'm getting a lot done, like and I'm not panicking or rushing or have this sense of like there's not enough time. It's really different. It's incredible.
Yeah, that part I have to arrive there. I have to keep reading the book.
But your question earlier about like how like can someone do it from the book? Yeah, I mean, once like just sovereignty alone, like I just addressed that, right? That alone, if you get past that, okay, and then I talk about the field, and then I talk about signal, and I talk about the field. The experiences that we have is basically a mirror. The field is a mirror. It doesn't care or not care about you. It's just going to reflect back your signal. All right, that's it. And then you can examine.
Will you teach some classes on this? Will you be doing workshops?
Yeah, yeah. I want to definitely do the horse thing because I think that's really incredible, and it's really low. Let's say, okay, so I'm used to doing, I've done constellation works forever and ever and ever,
Yeah.
and it's intense, right? It's like
It's very
it's
intense.
really deep, emotional, intense work, but really incredible at the same time, right? But it's a lot to do that. After for years and years and years, I've been doing it, right? This is easy. It's just like go in there for 10 minutes and notice, right? That's the instruction. Be in your midpoint, be in your vertical line and notice. And and then with that, I'm not like with you, I didn't really tell you what was wrong with you or anything like that. I'm not,
Mhm.
it's just an exercise, right? To show you if where you left, when you left that point, the vertical point, at what point did you leave, right? At what point
Yeah.
were you in there? It's a reference. That's it. And that's like, now you've experienced it. And when you told me about your experience after, how it was great in the car, but then when you're in the environment, you felt physically ill,
Oh
right?
yes, that
Do you
happened. That was
remember that?
very, very weird.
Yes. And because, well, this was my take on it, is that you had the experience of inhabiting yourself. It was, fluctuating, but probably several minutes inside yourself.
Yeah.
When you have that experience, like I said, I can no longer tolerate things that I used to, that I had a low grade tolerance for things in the way that I was in relationship with people, right?
Hmm.
And that I just can't do. I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't want it, right? It's not like they're terrible people or anything like that. It's the dynamic has shifted because now I'm inhabiting myself, right?
Yeah.
So you had that experience, so you had that reference point, and then when you're back in your familiar environment, it's that you had a reaction, a severe reaction.
Very easy because I was throwing up.
Yeah, I know.
Nausea,
You
and
said
then the
you,
next day I was like throwing up like, with a terrible migraine and yeah, but that day itself it was like I started to feel nausea and weird.
but you said you felt okay in the car, right? You said
Yes,
you,
it was
you
as soon as I came home and I started
yeah,
to deal with the day by day with
yeah,
everything.
exactly,
Yes,
exactly. So, I mean, that was my because you're a very sensitive person, right?
yeah,
And you've been your signal's porous. I mean, we talked about that. Like
yes,
mine was porous, right? Very sensitive, feeling everything, and then also allowing, compensating, right? Like
yes,
compensating for other people's whatever, just saying,
yeah.
right? And so when you inhabit yourself, you don't do that anymore. You don't
No,
do that.
it's
To,
getting better.
yeah, because to compensate, you have to leave yourself.
Yes,
You see what I mean? And
yes,
it's cleaner, and actually, your relationships are going to be better, like much better. And the other thing is, I don't worry anymore. Like, I don't worry about my business. I don't worry about things like I used to. I don't have a low level anxiety. I don't, you know, that's gone. And it's amazing. It's like, anyway, yeah. So that's the benefit of it, of it. And I still, and then I went on to do more work, which I'm going to write about in a second book because this book is the basic things like sovereignty, signal field axis. I also talk about the heart and talk about the nervous system in this book. And then the next one, I'm going to talk about coherence generated through an inner configuration. So it's one step further and it really locks you in. And it also is very palpable of what happens on the outside when you do that. Like literally, things literally organizing around you. Like I've experienced that. Yeah.
Hmm. And the
And
book is now available in Amazon.
yeah, so it's up now. It's from today. Yeah, it's available, and it's also on Kindle, and it's available. Yeah, I'm going to put the link in the YouTube description and all that. There it is. Cosmic algorithm.
I love the design.
Yeah, you know what? I just say something quickly about that. I know that ignore that strip there, but that is a painting by Hilma Klint.
Hmm.
I believe she was Swedish. She's around in the early 1900s, and that actually, I know it's hard to see on here, but it's um, circles like that with a line, right? So the line goes down there, and I saw it's public domain. That's why I could use it, right? And obviously I credit her, but she was totally ahead of her time. But I realized after I chose it, I was like, that's that signal, and that's the axis. The axis is the line, and the circumference, the circles, are
Yeah, it's
signals.
beautiful. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it too. But all right, so thank you, Fabiana. Thanks for having this discussion.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and then I want you to come back and do the horses again
Yes, and
when
I
you're
will.
ready.
I will. I can't wait.
All right then. All right. Well, look, have a great rest of the evening, and thanks again.
Thank
We're going
you.
to end this now.